Hey guys, this is the new Equate brand equivalent to the Gillette Fusion razor. Works great. I've already done one shave and it's pretty rad, and the price is of course super rad. The high value, was it good? Is it good value? High value? I forget. The Equate is one of the Walmart brands, and then there's another one that's called like something value or whatever. Great value, I think it is. Again, both those generics are great, and Walmart is able to provide me some of the best pricing on stuff available. I'm very appreciative of Walmart, but you know what's funny is a lot of people shit on Walmart. I don't know why. They're able to do something better. The only thing they're not great on is branding. So it's like you know, when you're buying apple juice, which is complete sugar, by the way. It's not, there's not like very little nutritional value when you're buying apple juice. And the same goes with orange juice. So, but I love the Equate or Great Value orange juice, especially the pasteurized stuff. It tastes just like Tropicana and all that other. It's probably made by Tropicana. So, yeah, I love those things. I realized that's exactly what people want in audio, and that's exactly what I produce, which is a generic equivalent that doesn't cost as much. So I've had this is probably the third or fourth text I've got this morning about people just blowing their woofers, and then I find out what amps they're running and things like that. And I've known this for a long time, but I think I want to address it in this video, which was that one of the things I had mentioned a couple of videos back was how inherently cheap car audio guys are. That was a generalization that's kind of wrong. People are how did was it Bill Gates described it? People are inherently efficient, which could also be called inherently lazy and cheap. It's because once they've solved a problem, then it just becomes a matter of, you know, what's the input that I'm getting for the output? And then what you realize is that because resources are limited, you want to put as little input to get maximum output. And that's exactly what like JL Audio does, right? That they build their brand, and now they're selling you a woofer that cost them $20 to make for $300. So they want to do this too. The problem is that you're on the receiving end of that. And so now you're the one that has to pay the price. So in order to get around this, you need to solve that problem. How do I get what I want for cheaper? Well, that's why it's great that there's competition, and there's great that there's people like me in the world who feel the same way. And I'm okay not making, you know, a zillion points on something. So if I get a $20 woofer that's worth $300, right, according to the market, and I sell it to you for $100, I'm okay with that. So, and it's funny is I get judgments on both sides. I get a judgment of people that say, hey, thanks for saving me $200. I also get people that say, hey, you're making $80. So no matter what I do, someone is always mad at me because they're not grateful, and they're not examining the complete, the complete vista of the market. Nobody else is doing what I'm doing. And again, I'm open to other options too. I had a guy just text me now. He's got two of the Pioneer SPL Champions that are good for like 600 watts RMS each. But he's got that the Pioneer, it's the 80 amp one, not the 120 amp one, amplifiers. Each one's running at 1 ohm and pumping out at least 800 watts to them, which those are good amplifiers. And they're a little conservatively rated. So that means they do more than what they say they're doing. And so it's no wonder that he burned up his woofers. And so I suggested to him that maybe he buy a subwoofer that has a bit more capacity, right? A little bit more power handling. And going through this exercise in my mind, my recommendations are to go half of RMS, which means, so if your amplifier does 800 watts RMS at 1 ohm, I suggest getting a subwoofer that does 1600 RMS. And you go, immediately, people who don't understand that they're being cheap, they feel cheated in that they're not maximizing the RMS of the subwoofer. They're like, Patrick, why should I only run 800 watts to a woofer that can take 1600 watts RMS? And I tell them, I go, well, you're going to have a much higher performance than you were having before, which was that you had a subwoofer before that was rated for 600 watts, but you were burning up. See, you don't want to burn them up because then your money goes in the toilet. But if you buy a subwoofer that's good for 15 or 1600 watts, and then you're only running 800 watts to it, your performance has increased greatly. And in fact, you have so much extra capacity that you can probably play that system all day long without any problems. And a lot of people I talk to, they say, yeah, that's what I want to do. I just want to be able to hang out, and have like a picnic or a barbecue or just play with the kids and have my system playing loud and clear all day long. And I go, well, the way that you do that is you buy a subwoofer that has more capacity than you're using. And then that cheapness gene or defect or whatever that is kicks in. And they go, yeah, but I'm not maximizing my investment. And I felt the same way in high school, especially. I remember Bruce George here in the East Valley. He ran Sound by George over there in Tempe on Mill and Broadway, and he was friends with a lot of us bass heads there at Westwood High School, and he showed up with his hearse, and he had how many did he have? I think he had like 812s. And they were the Gefco 12s. They were made by Gefco, but he was branding them himself on his own brand, Sound by George. And he was running 8 Art Series A1200s to each one. And each woofer was 8 ohm. And it drove me nuts. Did it sound excellent? Yeah, it was like super clean and loud. And he goes, that's what you need to do. You have to have an amplifier that can do, way more power, but you don't use it. That's the key. And then, of course, me thinking again in I guess it's a reptilian thing, I feel like I'm getting cheated, and I was like, well, he's only saying that because he wants me to spend more money, and I felt sorry for myself because I didn't have the money to do something like that. Like I did not have $1,200 to spend on a A1200 amplifier. That was completely insane. I could not do anything like that. So I felt crippled, and I felt emasculated. And again, what I realize now is that those are all just my dumb feelings. That and me as an adult now, I've actually addressed that problem of men feeling emasculated, men feeling not good enough, men feeling like, how am I going to afford this? And the way that I've solved that is I've given them opportunities. I had like 4 helpers yesterday. No, 5. I had 5 helpers come in, and I give them $20 an hour in credit. That's how you're able to do it. And again, it goes back to my story about watching Sesame Street. I forget what it was. I think it was Big Bird. Big Bird went into Mr. Hooper's store, and I think for whatever reason, Big Bird couldn't afford something at Mr. Hooper's store, and Mr. Hooper offered Big Bird to sweep up, to work for the money for this stuff, and that's just barter. That's just a barter. That's a better deal. And so again, I don't want to just give you free stuff because then you're not going to appreciate it. But if you're willing to work for it, and then at the same time, if you're willing to learn about it, you see how that works? And that's me investing in you. And that's what I want to do. And that's what these videos are all about. What I want you to notice, again, in the vista of the market, the view of the market as a whole, nobody else is doing this. So that's why it's entertaining when people don't like me or hate me for whatever reason, I find that entertaining and interesting because nobody else is doing what I'm doing. Now, could they do better what I'm doing? Sure. And I invite that. Again, I take the perspective that I think that this idea of empowering men and showing them how to do better, showing them how to, and again, I only say men just because my market is mostly men. One of the workers was a girl. I don't care what your gender is. I don't care what your identity is. Just as a human being, I want you to feel empowered that you can do something about your situation. So, because if you feel helpless, you end up falling into that hole, which is self-pity. And that's a disgusting hole. And I mean disgusting not in a judgmental way, but just it's very terrifying that, you know, you're constantly a victim. And what it really does, again, as a larger vista of the marketplace, when people feel sorry for themselves, they become liabilities. They become problems for society. And so just simply by offering the opportunity for someone to earn something that they normally wouldn't be able to afford, to me, number one, feels good. Number two, it genuinely helps you. So, and it was funny was one of the teams was 3 guys. Was it 3? No, 2. 2 guys and 1 girl. They had traveled all the way from Glendale, and they ended up earning $240 in credit. And so I ended up giving them 2 subwoofers and an amplifier. 2 subwoofers in a box, in a ported box, with an amplifier for $240 out the door. And I encouraged them, don't use this. Go and sell this for, ask $400. See what you can get. Because again, if you go to a shop for that same item, you're going to pay, again, $300 per woofer. So that's $600 plus the box. That's another $200 plus tax, plus another $100 for the amp. So you end up walking out of there for $1,000. But then the shop is like, well, we can finance you. You can make $20 a month for the rest of your life. Something like that. And of course, they're willing to do that because they make more money that way. And their goal is to make more money. My goal in this channel, and it has always been with Robot, is simply to empower people. And I realize that my ideals are offensive to, I don't want to say capitalists, I want to say to greedy people. So I know my ideas are offensive, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of shops don't like me. Now, there are some owners who do appreciate what I do and admire what I do. They find it entertaining. They're like, good luck with that. Let me know how that turns out. But they're not shitting on me. So one of them is Sean over at Unique Car Audio. He admires what I do, but he certainly would not do what I'm doing. Now, his shop is in a much higher class. At this point, he's so busy, the only thing he has time for is Lambos and exotics and stuff like that. And what's great is the shop right around the corner that also specialized in that, Handcrafted Car Audio, is out of business because the guy was a douche. And so I'm happy to see him go out of business. What's great is Sean is not like that. He's a really cool guy. Now, he makes a better living from high-end people, and he's able to provide that. And he's I think the only provider here in the East Valley to do that. I think there's another guy up on Bell. I forget his name. Bell Road is really far north from me. And there might be some other guy out in Glendale. I think there's a couple of vendors out there that specialize in high-end exotic cars and things like that. That customer is just willing to pay more. And if you're willing to accept that responsibility and step up, you're going to make those things. But in order to be a responsible, intelligent person, you got to work at that. And that, again, that's where I love to see people that have interned with me, that have apprenticed with me. They move on, they go in the military, they share the skills that I've shared with them, and they're able to make a great living and live a good life. That's my goal. I'm not attached to whether or not you love me. That's not why I'm doing this. So like my dad actually was like that. My dad would teach me things, and then he was like, he wanted my loyalty, and I'm like, well, dude, if you're a dick, I'm not going to be loyal to you because you're a dick. And it's like he would teach me how to, I don't know, he did this to my brother one time where he dropped a trailer on his shoulder. My brother's got this weird worm-looking scar on his shoulder. And what's funny, because my brother was just a child, and here's this 2-ton trailer on his shoulder. The hitch was on his shoulder, and instead of going, "Oh yeah, maybe this is too much for you," no, my dad was like, "Hold on, son, hold on." And one of the reasons why my dad appreciated my brother in that way is because my brother was too dumb and too, I guess, was shy, afraid of saying no to my dad, because my dad did not show any affection to my brother. Like my dad showed me the most affection out of all the kids. And what's funny is I ended up being the one to rebel against him in a way that wasn't just like natural rebellion, like I'm going to go suck a bunch of black dudes' wieners. The kind of rebellion is like to stand up to him, because my dad was a bully. And to stand up to him and go, no, I'm like, basically to be willing to sacrifice myself. Like, I don't care if you punch me or beat me or whatever. I'm not going to put up with your shit anymore. So for me, that's the rebellion of Robot Underground, is to tell the society, to tell the world, to tell large brands, fuck you. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to figure out a way. Now, what's great about this point in time that we're in, because again, I started doing this in 90. Well, I came up with the idea in 93 when I met my wife. And it was just an idea in my head that I was afraid to express because my family was so, they're a bunch of bullies. They're oppressive. They didn't want me to have any dreams. So that's when I developed that. But right now in our society, because of globalization, because of the products that are available on Amazon, you're able to do that. And I actually have some samples coming in from some weird generic brand or whatever. And the products look really good. And you guys can take advantage of this. So don't feel bad about rebranding a subwoofer. You did the work of number one, teaching yourself how to get online and how to use the computer. Number two, to find me. So now you have information that other people don't. And if you use that information for your gain, that is okay. Now, if you're abusive with it, that gets to be a problem. But again, it's not my problem, it's your problem. The only problem that I have when people take my name in vain is people like Andrew that I showed you, the guy that was, he's a convicted sex offender. He was using the techniques of befriending people and helping people and then betraying them. And I'm not, no, that's not cool. That's not a good thing at all. So, yeah, so that would be the equivalent of, I'll bring this back full circle. That would be equivalent of, this little cartridge from Walmart. Again, Walmart doesn't make this. Somebody else does. They just sell it. That would be equivalent if this cartridge was made from, Chinese orphans, like crunched up and compressed because they don't need those things. And also it gave you AIDS when you used it, when you shaved with it. So I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of that level of betrayal. So if you take the skills that I share with you on this channel and you do good, that's what I want. And I feel like all humans are basically good and can be good and want to be good. Just sometimes the situation that they're in, they tend to make short-term investments that are not great in the long run. Does that make sense? So like, I'm guilty of that too. I did some really shitty things in my past and I don't want to do them anymore. So that's why I'm trying to do things different. And just remember that because of your company, because of you watching these videos, because of you supporting me, I'm rooting for you just as much as you're rooting for me. And that's how life can be. It doesn't have to be win-lose. It can be win-win. So I give you that inspirational message. I got to go out there and, I might as well do the announcements here, which is that I'm going to go back into comedy. Like I would love to do comedy full time. And so I'm going to be stepping away from audio for a little bit, mostly until we can get a better place, bigger warehouse, and most of the products that I can turn you guys onto are imports. Mostly because I don't have the time, and it's abundantly clear. I have some clients that I'm 6 months behind with on their builds, and that is unacceptable to me. And they're not taking the bribes anymore of the, you know, accessories or wire kits or whatever I'm trying to give them as compensation. And so that is completely unacceptable to me. And so I want to get my shit together. And the way that I can do that is I can turn the money down. So I'm in a situation that I'm much better in, but I want to fulfill my promises and I want to get those builds done so that I can have my integrity back. Because if I don't have my integrity, it's a mess. I'm just spinning my tires in the mud. It's not worth what I want. Because I want the real deal. I want to be rolling in the deep like Adele, you know. I want true love. I want to really live life, and I really want it to be on my terms. If it's not on my terms, then it's not me experiencing that, and that's what I want. So I'm going to be backing that off that. Some of you may have seen it. I created a Facebook page called Patty Danger. I reserved the .com, pattydanger.com. I think on some of the platforms I was not able to reserve Patty Danger as a username. I think, yeah, on Gmail I was not able to reserve that. Somebody else had that. And so I made the Patty Danger brand as part of Giznado Industries. So I now control giznado@gmail.com. And Patty Danger is a Giznado Productions production. And so that's going to be the sub-brand. And then, of course, all of it will be controlled by the church anyway. So it doesn't really matter. But, yeah, so I'm going to go do, let's see, I'm going to do an LLC for the church. And then I might do one for Giznado Industries as well. So that, again, if anything ever goes haywire, I mean, that's going to make a great, news story. Like, Giznado Industries is filing for bankruptcy. Always think ahead, kids. Always think ahead. That's how committed I am to comedy, and that's how committed I am to the jokes. And again, one of the things that I think I can bring to that industry is that people are not that committed to comedy. They're not really committed, like I've always said, balls deep in this AIDS butthole kind of commitment. And I think that would be interesting to see that level of commitment on a platform like stand-up comedy. And so the reason for the name Patty Danger is because this last interaction that I had with a show promoter was, he said that he was afraid that I would start a riot at the show, or I would shit on the club, or I would do something that he found embarrassing. And I'm like, what kind of fucking comedian are you? Like, and of course he kept saying that I wasn't good. And I'm like, I am fucking way better than all these dumb people that you've picked. How can you say that? So, and I realized that it was just a cover for the truth. The truth is that he's afraid of the embarrassment that it might cause. And so then you look at somebody like, I don't know, Louis C.K., right? Where everybody dropped him because of what? Because he likes to jack off in front of people. That consent, by the way, that consent. And then they betrayed him. And so I'm like, wow, that is super powerful in that Louis can do that. And Louis is super brilliant. And it was that podcast that I saw. I posted that on my posts here on YouTube, which is for you guys. It's the one with Lee. Oh my God, I just forgot it. Theo Vaughn and Louis C.K. And I was telling you guys about, 3/4 of the way through, Louis talks about how you're not going to be you if you decide to do something for success rather than what's in your wheelhouse. What is you? What is your style? And there's something genuine and they can't take away from you. If you do have success, then you act a fool and you lose it. And that's what Louis did. Louis realized that he was acting like a fool. He was acting too big for his britches. And he lost hundreds of millions of dollars by doing it. But the great thing is that he got back up. And now he just did Madison Square Garden. You can download his special. I think you can still download his special. I'm waiting for it to come out on the, where you can buy it for $5. Because I haven't even seen Sorry, and I need to see his special Sorry first. So, and I already have that one paid for and downloaded, but I just haven't looked at it. But yeah, so even more full circle, this is the reason why I make the recommendations that I do. I've already been you. I've already been through the things that you're going through and the thoughts that you have. And that's why I'm trying to share to you. This is the reason why I promote that. So I promote that you should buy subwoofers that are too big for your application, that are too strong for your application. Why? Because I know that they'll then last longer and they'll handle abuse better. And I know that you're naturally abusive. The real key here is to know yourself, to know how you really use stuff, and then to counter that through several different methods, right? Like if you know you have a temper, you probably, should do something about that. Or if you know that you're cheap, you should probably do something about that until you can address the real issue, which is that you just don't know how to make more money. So once you learn how to make more money, you can still be cheap, but now you make more money. So some of that problem is solved. So again, this channel is really just about problem solving and about helping you be a better person. And the irony is that those kinds of things are not popular unless I'm completely monetizing them and harvesting your guys' soul, because that's how the rest of the world does it. And it doesn't have to be like that. So anyways, I love you guys. Thank you for spending this 26 and a half minutes with me. And I hope you buy stronger, better subwoofers. If you buy them from me, that's great. But right now I'm not into the production, so I can't produce them as fast as I would like to. So I will probably refer you to a generic or a less than popular brand so that you can fulfill those dreams and maybe debadge and flip and all that kind of stuff. So I'll talk to you later. I love you. Bye.